What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey from 2020 Media, and you are listening to NBT Bank's On the Scene podcast, reaching over 250,000. That's a quarter of a million, mathematically. Readers of weha.com, West Hartford Magazine, and Jewish Ledger, 24/7, 365. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Bob Carr. Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Tom. Tom Hickey, along with myself, Kosher Bakati, and Ronnie Newton, is a founder of weha.com. Tom brings to West Hartford the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, which is West Hartford's original lifestyle magazine, the various tastes of West Hartford, the best of West Hartford, which will have its 10th anniversary on November 18th. So get your tickets, as well as what else? Other fun events around the year. Sorry about that. Other fun events around the year.
All
Our
year long.
podcast is assembled and posted by the Modern Observer Group of Middletown, Connecticut. And today our guests are Tom Hickey and Bob Carr. So today we're chatting about the best of West Hartford. So I just realized, Tom, we talked about this before and we reiterated again. It's the 10th anniversary for weha.com, the 10th anniversary for Best of West Hartford, the 25th anniversary for West Hartford Magazine, and the 95th for the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, which is an incredible number. Just the breadth of that.
Yeah.
And so just do you want to chat about that a little bit and how that relates
Sure,
to
absolutely. It's funny how you just never really, know where you're going to end up or how your paths are going to cross. But 10 years or so ago, I was actually involved in a conversation, had several meetings, and he was very instrumental in helping get West Hartford Magazine off the ground. But it was Jonathan Mothley at Mothley Media in Fairfield County who basically said, geez, West Hartford should have its own best of, West Hartford. Sounds good, the whole bit, but we're like, well, we don't know how to do that. Well, he had a binder, it was a red binder that he actually had a copy made of for us. That was everything you ever wanted to know about, how to conduct the best of West Hartford. So it got us started. We wanted to keep things simple, when we first started. So there were, I don't know, maybe 30 some odd categories. Some of them very obvious, what the best ofs, would be. But we wanted to keep it simple because think of it this way, in each of the categories, there are three. Now today there are four because of the write-in category, potential placements, first place, second place, third place, and then a write-in. So each category, business category, then could have 150, to 200 potential, people that you have to communicate with and stay on top of. And when you're a small staff, I always joke and say, yes, it's me, myself, and I, but that's not true. It's Bob and Hillary and our whole team. We actually have a great gal named Shay, Shay, helping us with social media this year for Best of West Hartford. But you have to keep it simple so that you don't grow too fast or make some mistakes or errors. And this has become the single largest networking event in West Hartford. We do it in advance now. We announce who the winners are. We never did that before. COVID sort of made that happen to get a little bit, but you sort of rethought how you did things. But we announce in advance who won so that it encourages people to come to the event. And I think, Bob, that's one thing I would really love to impress upon everybody listening, to this. If you want to come to the Best of West Hartford, it's a great evening. We only have 200 tickets to sell. Another 50 are for the sponsors. So it's 250 people. It's a great evening, quick evening, 3 hours. But I don't want you to be disappointed. And we're already hearing from so many people, that they want to come. Well, if you want to come, you have to go to Eventbrite, and you have to buy your tickets. And if you're a sponsor, you should receive a message with a code on it that you can use, to get a comp ticket.
So the Eventbrite link is where?
The easiest place to look would be on weha.com. If not, any social media, every single announcement that we put out has the flip book, which shows you who the winners are, and a direct link for tickets on Eventbrite.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
anywhere that you happen to see it. If not, you can certainly reach out, to us. Probably the easiest way to do it is through jewishledger.com or weha.com, and we'll hook you up. But it should be a great evening. And again, if you don't mind, I can talk a little bit about the 10th and what sort of makes it so special. But we've tried to do something a little bit different for the 10th anniversary.
Absolutely. Yes, it's great. One of the things that we talked about offline is, the growth of the Best of West Hartford and how things have changed over the years, and then how the voting has gone from 6 weeks down to 3 weeks, et cetera. But can you kind of speak to not the numbers exactly, but the growth from say 10 years ago to today?
Absolutely. When we first started, year number one, right? So you don't know what's going to happen. You could win a category with, a couple, 3 dozen votes, or 100, votes. And that's sort of how it started off, and that was fine. 10 years into this now, again, depending upon the popularity of the category, so I always say things like, home improvement, banking, finance, jewelry, those seem to pique the most interest, from people. So the numbers are more substantial, but you need thousands of votes. One of
Wow.
the yeah, one of the things that shocked me this year was, along with Ronnie introducing the winners on weha.com, we also sent out an e-blast. We refer to internally as a DEB, a digital e-blast. And within the first 15 minutes of that opening, we had more people that had voted in all of the previous year, that
Wow.
opened it up to look at it. So, and again, I think that speaks to the world today, right? I mean, these are people who are interested in what's going on in West Hartford. They don't have to be from West Hartford, they maybe a connection or something, but it's really it does blow your mind a little bit when you think about, how crazy, some of the numbers are. So I encourage everyone, and I'll back up for a second, Bob. One of the things you said too, we did tighten up the window for voting. Because this is truly a People's Choice Award, everyone said to us, oh, no one wants to think about this for the whole summer or 3 months or, whatever it is. So tighten it up. So this year we tightened it up to 3 weeks. So we gave people 3 weeks that enabled the businesses to focus on it for 3 weeks. But it was sort of you started and you ended and it was done, a little bit. So it just made life a lot easier. But I think that alone increased the numbers because there was a limited, amount of time that people had to respond.
Oh, awesome.
Wondering what's happening in West Hartford? Visit weha.com. Weha.com is the most comprehensive calendar in West Hartford. Subscribing to weha.com, West Hartford's best news source, is always free. Visit we-ha.com. We have it all in West Hartford.
Let's pivot a little bit right here and let's look at the actual event itself.
Sure.
What's the itinerary? What's the night like?
Great. So we try to keep it fun and simple, so that you're in and out in 3 hours. I always say it starts at 5:30 and you can be home and in bed by 9. It's a Monday night by design. We find as though no one really has anything to do on a Monday night.
Right.
So if we keep it simple and get you in and out, that should work well. 5:30 to 6:30, we have sort of a networking, business to business, B2B networking function this year for the 10th. And I won't tell you what it is, but you have to come because there's a special surprise at 6 o'clock that evening that will take place. And then at 6:30, we go. I'm sorry, I should back up. In that first 1 hour at the JCC, we're in the art gallery. It's the Chase family's art gallery. It's a glass room right as you walk in the main entrance. Beautiful, very, and it's almost designed perfectly for us. It's a round room, and very easy to maneuver around in and get to say hello to everybody. It's not the kind of thing where at a networking function and you can't, I see you, Bob, at the other end of the room and I can't get to you. It's easily designed to be able to maneuver around. Then we go upstairs into the innovation room, which is sounds innovation, right? Very high tech, all kinds of monitors, and we keep the winners on a loop. all night long. It's just a continuous loop that keeps going around so that people can see and or pose and take photos for social media, of themselves listed in their category. So if you miss it the first time, you wait 15 minutes and it comes up again. There was a time 10 years ago when we sat everybody down in a room and we, read off all of the winners' names, and it was a real snooze fest. So we try not to do that anymore. But we want to give people their spotlight, in their 5 minutes of fame. This year, actually, while we are upstairs, there is going to be something, again, I don't want to steal any thunder. There is something special that we're doing because it's the 10th anniversary for Best of West Hartford. But by 8:30 we're done. And I need to say this because it's really important. It wasn't my idea, but Kelly Stangl from Arthur Murray Dancers came up with the idea of having an entertainment portion of the evening. So there are four pairs who are going to be dancing together and competing for the best dancers in West Hartford. It's almost like a Dancing with the Stars, but a local. And it's really sort of fun. It's Mayor Sherry Cantor, Ronnie Newton, our editor, Dennis House, so lots of Eric Feeney, who was the previous guest on the podcast. So a great mix of people to make that sort of fun, a fun portion, of the evening. And while all that's happening, in the reception, we have Cafe Louise, who is going to be providing, food for us in the first 1 hour. The dinner itself is brought to us by Chick-fil-A. So hopefully you like salad and chicken and fresh fruit and all the fun things that they do. And then at the end of the evening, dessert again is by Cafe Louise. So it's Louise at Cafe Louise and Daryl at Chick-fil-A, who are working with us on delivering the food. And all the drinks are made possible by Two Pour Guys. That's TWOPOUR guys who are great, and they basically sort of run the bar for us. So very quick, easy evening.
That's a cash bar. Is that
Yeah, the first drink is free. Then it's cash bar. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And they take everything. So if you don't have cash, whatever, Venmo, debit, credit, they take all that stuff.
That's always a plus when you're at an event, especially a true cash bar, when it's only cash, which can be a problem in today's world, right?
Mm.
So as going back to 10 years, and the growth of Best of West Hartford, we had the COVID year, which was obviously a negative impact, but where did the idea come from, other than Jonathan Moffat, but you're making it a true people's choice aspect, so that when folks win, they are the ones that got the most votes. Where did that come from? Is that something that
thanks for bringing it up, Bob, because it really was something that we did differently in this marketplace. They did not have this issue in Fairfield County, but we used to have this issue in Hartford County, and again someday maybe we will. But there was a former company who I won't use names, who did best ofs, events. And it was really always, the publisher's best friends and the people who spent the most money and the businesses that were going to get them business, in future years. And we really didn't want it to be any of that. We wanted it to be a real, true people's choice. We wanted the people to be able to speak and then the businesses to be acknowledged. And one of the best stories I can give you about this, without again using names, there's a landscaper who's won, I don't know, maybe at least 3 times or so, in the last 10 years. And he uses it as an incentive for the 10 people who work on his team, cutting the lawns and doing the maintenance and all that stuff. And what he does when they win first place is he buys them Best of West Hartford first place trophies. And he gives them to the 10 workers, and then they put them on their mantles and, on their bedstands or whatever. It's a big deal. I mean, they really, and what I like about that is, I get goosebumps talking about it, but, that those are just people who are happy and pleased, with the business, that they've received. And then they're taking the time to go online and vote, which is super. So we wanted to make sure, that it was real. And for anyone listening, I'm the publisher and the marketing director. I basically make sure that I am not involved at all, in that back end. Hillary does, a lot of that for us, just so that to try to keep it to a minimum of anyone being able to say, oh, Tom Hickey chose that person, or, whatever it was. These are people who really deserve to be recognized, not only by the general public, but by the town and the chamber and everyone else who's involved.
I also want to bring up one other thing. I know that because we're talking about the best of early on. I remember the first year there were some national organizations that took advantage of their national stature, national coffee chains, national retail clothing retailers that negatively impacted the vote. So is that something that we've dealt with these days?
Yeah, thanks again for bringing that up too. Very, again, learning curve, in the first couple of years. What I never really thought of before, but if you think about it, this is the way the world works now, especially everything being digital. And we can see this on the end. This is where Hillary is so important. You can see on the back end how many times and who has voted and, the whole bit. So if you monitor it and keep track of it or have good algorithms, or whatever, some of the national firms were just saying, oh, vote for us, for Best of West Hartford. And what was happening was you were getting votes in from, California and, places that obviously, they didn't have anything to do. Well, all they were doing was sending it to their list of emails themselves, and then people were voting. And that's not what we wanted. We wanted the people in West Hartford to say, oh, I like business X in Elmwood or Park Road or Bishop's Corner because I frequent them and I know them. So we had to cut back quite a bit from doing that, which did upset those businesses. But it was more important to us to have the local mom and pas. Now, having said that, this has not happened yet, but if there was a national chain, that happened to be an exception, or whatever, we certainly would listen to the people, and make an exception, for that rule. But once we took those nationals out, like you said, Bob, it didn't seem, it seemed to be more realistic, a true,
more localized where the people,
truer reflection of the town.
right, and the local area. So again, you can get your tickets on Eventbrite, which was really something that you can find it on weha.com or on the social media posts. We also have the Dancing with the Star kind of event that's coming up at the end of the evening, right? That's like
At the end. Yep.
So you want to make sure you stick around. If you come, you want to stick around for that. And is there any more different reveals that you worried about, concerned about, you want to bring up for folks who are where the JCC is? I know this is odd. I honestly believe that there are people who do not know where the JCC
No,
is.
it's crazy. And we talk about it all the time. The other thing that happens too, it's sort of, it's in the, it's almost on the Bloomfield town line, of West Hartford.
That's by University of Hartford, right?
By University of Hartford. So, and it's funny that you bring it up, Bob, because we were just having this conversation last week in the office. We used to have, and maybe some of our listeners will remember this, when our best of events were at Fleming's in West Hartford Center. Um, uh, Same number of people, 250, that hasn't changed a little bit, but in a restaurant like Fleming's, even the last time that we were there, we took all the furniture out. So, I mean, we had to make that much room, for everyone. And I think that was the year that Dennis House and Kara Sundlin were MCs, but it was a great evening, as always. And that might have been for the fifth. I think that might have been for the fifth year. And we basically outgrew it. But what was nice about it was that when you're in a location like that, people used to say to me, "Oh, hey, Tom, come have a drink. I'm going over to such and such. I'm going to, come celebrate with us." And you get that when you're in sort of like a walking area. I always say at JCC, people get in their cars and where do they go? They go home. So that's why we try to make sure that the 3 hours from 5:30 8:30 are enough fun and and are eventful enough for everyone that they've had enough, they can go home and go to bed by 9 a little bit. But it does make a difference. But the other thing, to give a little plug for JCC, during COVID, they spent a lot of money in redoing all of their HVAC and everything. So the nice thing about the JCC as a location is you may have to, move your location on their campus, indoors versus outdoors or whatever it may be, or room to room, but you never have to cancel. And that was one of the things that used to drive us crazy, and still to this day, we're having an issue with our taste of events, depending upon, what strands, of COVID's being introduced and how vibrant it might be. But that's an issue. And JCC has resolved that for us because they're very easygoing. They're wonderful to work with once you get there. But yes, you have to go.
Well, it's a beautiful space. It's a great space. I've been there for your event and other events and over time, and it's they've done a great job up there with their location. Just that, and again, the location sometimes people's like, where is it, et cetera. It's not. It's like 3 minutes from downtown West Hartford, so it's not like it's far away, but it does feel that way, right? So we want to make sure we. But again. The event is November 18th from 5:30 to 8:30. You can bet your tickets on Eventbrite, looking at it, the weha.com site, or Connecticut Jewish Ledger site, or the social media posts. And I think we're a wrap. Anything else we need to talk about?
No, I don't think so. Other than you started with it because it sounds crazy, but we are just going to acknowledge and recognize that evening all of the other special anniversaries. A dear friend of mine said about a year ago, it's wonderful that you have all of these, major, celebrations, taking place. But do me a favor. I know you, Tom, and you'll want to have 4 events. Don't have 4 events, just have one, and celebrate all of them. So this is it. This is our time to come together as a community and celebrate. Again, I'll say it, the 10th anniversary for weha.com, the 10th anniversary for Best of West Hartford, 25th for West Hartford Magazine, and 95th for Jewish Ledger. Should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys there.
Yep, take care.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.